On the 20th of January, lawyers acting for Ruth Sitepu's family submitted their closing arguments to the Suhakam panel of inquiry on the disappearance of Joshua Hilmy and Ruth Sitepu since the 30th of November 2016. Philip Koh weighs in on what DCP Awaludin Jadid, the head of PDRM's Special Branch Social Extremism Division, said in a public speech, and why what he said is so alarming.
It is our submission that these disappearances arose from extra-legal and extrajudicial religious policing. In the light of the abolishment of the Internal Security Act, there are legislation, Prevention of Terrorism Act, POTA 2015, and SOSMA 2015 also. ASP Awaludin Jadid, whom we were acquainted with even during Operation Lalang's time, because he was a junior officer then who interviewed the then Hilmy Muhammad Noor. In fact, as a personal note, Mr. Chairman, I was concerned that when we heard about the disappearance of a certain Hilmy, I actually called my friend Hilmy and asked, are you around? He said, no, I'm not the gentleman. But it's interesting for us that the speech which has been ventilated and put before both panels highlighted the fact that this division of the PDRM expressed frustration and hindrance about the constraints they have in not being empowered by preventive detention without trial. It's important for me to highlight at paragraph 56 of our submission in page 29. On the 6th of November 2016, Awaludin delivered his speech. It was 40 minutes at a seminar at the KDN complex. The salient contents are the following. He claimed that the state is busy looking for terrorist group like the Islamic State, but he had forgotten the real enemies are groups like Bersih, Christian proselytizers, and Shia converts, paragraph 56(1) of my submission. And they are assisted by conspirators in the judiciary, the civil service, and even in JAKIM and the police. Perhaps the learned ASP was referring to his colleague Ayub Khan, who has a different viewpoint about the real threats to Malaysia. He bemoaned the loss of ISA. It was so much easier for the police to take action, he says. He claims that the new laws of POTA and SOSMA passed by our sovereign body called the Parliament were inadequate for their needs. Here, if I may respectfully say, a PDRM officer is crossing a boundary of commenting on the sovereign power of the people of Malaysia expressed through Parliament. He alleged that the Barisan Nasional even became political, a body that should be apolitical in investigation. That Barisan Nasional lost its 2/3 majority. Is a special branch there to protect a supermajority of a reigning government? Is it not there to protect the people of Malaysia? He claimed that after 2008, communities of faith were emboldened to make demands like using the Istilah Allah. He further linked this to the sponsorship of so-called Christian proselytizers who prey upon vulnerable Muslim groups. May I make an aside comment that I failed to do so earlier? In the banking records of Joshua Hilmy, we saw how meager the sums of money are in the bank. These are from well-wishers, small gift offerings. There is no Christianization movement that funds an alleged huge proselytization movement that constitutes a threat. He pointed out that those involved were Padre Melayu, like Joshua Jamaluddin, Hilmy Muhammad Noor, who are now protected and hidden by churches. Again, a barefaced allegation that has no basis at all in law and fact. He ended by giving his opinion the best way to deal with these enemies. He claimed that the Jabatan Agama Islam was powerless to act. His proposed way is not to use the laws of the land, which requires actual proof of violent intention. Quote unquote, kalau dia pegang saja pistol, kita akan tangkap. It was like a sense of regret that they could not find any instruments of violence or even evidence of any sort that is a threat to public order or security. The way forward appears to be extra-legal. Quote unquote, his testimony. It is very simple. Orang putih cakap, it takes a thief to catch a thief. Maksudnya kalau kita nak tangkap pencuri, kita mesti menjadi pencuri. It's an extraordinary statement. Maybe we can say, perhaps it's a hyperbole in a speech, but should that words ever even be found in the lips of law enforcers to a young group of hearers, a new generation of our citizens? So after this speech, a number of events unfold, and this is where we commend similar fact evidence argument. On 18 November, on the eve of Bersih 5, police raided and detained Bersih Chairman Maria Chin Abdullah under SOSMA. On 24th November, Amri Chep Mat, Awaludin's E2 division admitted under the surveillance for allegedly Shiism, was abducted on the street near his home in Kanga Perlis. On 30th November, the date, fateful date, which Joshua and his spouse, our client's family's sister, Ruth Sitepu, exited and never seen again. On 13 February 2017, Pastor Raymond Koh was abducted with visible CCTV testimony. It is our submission, learned members of the panel. These facts, this pattern supports what we call a similar fact evidence, which is found in paragraph 76 and page 37 of our submission, that the probative value of similarity, though may not be completely striking, but in this case, striking for our case, that the underlying link between previous incidences and current one, a nexus similarity establishing a system, facts supporting part of a same activity and similar surrounding circumstances. And what are their common features? One, it is involved in a religious situation. There were threats and harassments. There is a lackadaisical attitude in the police investigation. There is a car involved. If there is a car, there is therefore a disappearing of a vehicle. We have also seen in the inquiry that the car of Pastor Joshua Hilmy was never to be seen again, and the car locks, or rather the renewal of road tax was never done ever again. And I may add, since we're on this point, on the immigration locks too, the couple was never seen to have exited the jurisdiction of this country. So it is the probative force and the similar facts that we are commending to this honorable panel to make the inference, an irresistible one, that Joshua and Ruth were abducted and deprived of their liberty, their body and their vehicle never to be found again. This involved logistics of more than one individual to disappear, an individual driving. We saw that in the Raymond Koh's case, the multiple SUVs and men in balaclavas. We see this now, although we have no witness of a couple in a car also disappearing. Joshua and Ruth practice of their faith as an ethnic Malay and an Indonesian triggered a dark response of enforced disappearance. These are the common features. It cannot be merely dismissed as purely coincidental. It is apt to return to 1987 Operation Lalang, which I referred to just now, Awaludin's first foray into the state attempts to justify detention without trial. Honorable members of the panel, we are aware of the apex court decision of Minister of Home Affairs against Joshua Jamaluddin Othman, reported in 1989, where the federal court, led by a very learned jurist, Hashim Yop Sani, made a very important ruling that conversion of individuals, be they ethnic Malay, by itself cannot be regarded as a threat to the security of the country. It also, the learned judge has held, offense against the freedom of religion and the practice of a religion accorded to all persons found in our jurisdiction. And the word is person, not just a citizen, because Ruth Sitepu, an Indonesian national, is accorded that federal constitutional protection too.